The A Show,
where smart is the new sexy.
And now, April Hunter.
Good evening, beautiful, smart people. We have a treat for you tonight. We are joined by Dyer, amazing, very smart author, also co-host of InfoWars. I have Esoteric Hollywood right here, which is fascinating.
Oh, cool. I'm glad you like it.
I do. I really do. I have questions. I have a lot of questions. And I'm going to read the entire thing here. Jay is an author, comedian, and commentator, primarily known for his work analyzing culture, media, and philosophy. He's also been a host and a guest on various platforms, including InfoWars, where he discusses big picture view of politics, global elites, and media manipulation. That's right up our alley. We love that. He's authored several books, including Esoteric Hollywood, Sex, Cults, and Symbols in Film, which explore hidden messages and themes in popular media, as well as the influence of elite power structures. His work often examines conspiracy theories, love, geopolitics, love, and the intersection of religion and philosophy. So we are super excited to have you here. Welcome, Jay. Thank you for making time to be here with us.
Thank you. Yeah, it was fun to chat at the Tampa Bay Screams horror convention. That was my first horror convention, and you were talking about comedy. The first 10 minutes of the event, I was roasting the audience. So there you go. There's the comedy.
Oh, sorry, I missed
funny.
that.
I missed roasting. I would have roasted all you guys for sure.
You should have.
That would have been fun. Yeah.
You should have. I will never turn out. Yeah, feel free.
Yeah.
We're good with it. Yeah. The Tampa Bay Screams is a unique one. They are really, really good to us. And I think I've been there for about 7 years now on a regular basis. So totally impressed with them, and they've just grown. So unfortunately you got there on a day when they were not growing, because first up, it was cold, it was rainy, and we're getting down to the Super Bowl with the game. So it was a very light crowd.
Yeah, it was a massive rain that day. It was crazy.
Yeah, it was pretty bad. But if they ask you to go back, you definitely should, especially if it's one of their regular shows. But
no, we had. I mean, my event, we had a good crowd. We had about 50 or 60 at my event, so it was a blast. It was about what we usually get. So we always have a good time at my live events. So they're usually a good mix of weird topics, goofy, funny stuff, a lot of impressions. So we had a good time.
That's
weird topics. Yes.
So you are. I'm not often saying you are one of the ultimate film buffs. Like you love and know film.
Well, yeah. I mean, from a certain angle, like I write about it in a more of like a literature way, because like if you take a college class and you do a lit class, you're going to do what they call a close reading, which is where you analyze the texts and you look for symbolism, patterns, motifs. And so that's kind of what I do with movies. So it's not like a Ebert style film review where it's talking about why it's good or bad. It's more of a philosophy analysis of what's the symbolism in this film? Why is it there? Is there propaganda in this film? What's the message? Are the actors and directors involved in various secret societies? Are they connected to intelligence agencies? All those things are kind of what I analyze. And so it ended up being kind of a very unique approach to movies. I think a lot of people that write about film, it's usually just their, opinions on why it's good, why the lighting's bad, why the cinematography is good. That's not what I do. It's totally different. It's all about, why is Kubrick, writing this Eyes Wide Shut? Or why is he doing this Eyes Wide Shut story with, people in the real world who are involved in Scientology? In the story, they're, kind of in a cult. What is this cult in this movie, and why does it matter? And did Kubrick know about this stuff? Yeah. So I put Kubrick's about the first 80 or 90 pages of that book.
Yeah, I noticed that there's a lot of interesting analysis in here, from E.T. and Close Encounters, Never Ending Story, which
Yeah, I like to throw in some 80s, like I'm a kid of the 80s, so I usually throw in some 80s stuff, some B movies. So I'm writing Esoteric Hollywood 3 right now, and that one's going to have a whole section of just B movies. So
Oh,
I like to spice it up, not just focus on, the mainstream blockbuster stuff.
Awesome.
is there something that stands out to you in one film or another?
Well, I mean, so in the first book, we chose to do it by directors. So I focused on Kubrick, Hitchcock, David Lynch, Spielberg movies, Alien Propaganda. And I mean, all of them stand out for different reasons. I think if you write from the vantage point of conspiracy, which is kind of what both books are. I mean, all of those directors stand out because in some way, they utilize elements of conspiracy and espionage and all that. So all the films in the first two books stand out, but I mean, I think Eyes Wide Shut is kind of the ultimate conspiracy movie. It's dealing with high-powered elite sex cults, people being trafficked, people being compromised, mind control, human sacrifice, initiation. I mean, all of that is in that movie as kind of the classic example. But I mean, there's other elements like, more philosophical stuff like The Matrix. I did a breakdown of the Matrix trilogy in the second book. So, there's a lot of like obvious choices, but then there's a lot of other kind of lesser known, obscure films that I chose to.
Have you done Donnie Darko?
Yes. In fact, I just rewrote the entire Donnie Darko chapter last week, and that will be in the third book.
Because I would love to hear your analysis on that.
It's a favorite of mine. In fact, I had not seen it in many years. We went back and watched it not too long ago, and it held up pretty good. I really enjoyed it. It's still very funny. But yeah, I think Richard Kelly's films, in fact, both that and The Box will be in the third book. A lot of people hated The Box, but it's kind of a tribute to Kubrick. And I didn't hate it. I thought it was pretty good. It has a lot of philosophy in it. It's based on existentialism. Jean-Paul Sartre comes up quite a bit in the story. So yeah, I thought it was worth including. True Detective season 1 was a very dark.
That's the best one.
Yeah, absolutely. Hands down the best. Probably one of the best TV shows ever. So that's going to be in the third one. So you're kind of hitting on all the stuff that I've saved for. What I realized after I did the first one is like there's so many movies that you can write about that, well, I need a second one. And the second one came out in 2018, and then the publisher was like, hey, you might as well do another one because there's never ending movies to write about. So even after this third one's finished, I mean, there's still enough material to keep writing. So
yeah, I haven't gotten as far as Minority Report in there yet, but I would imagine that one is a fascinating one.
Yeah, I mean, remember thinking at the time when that came out, like, this is very likely a future we could see by the time we're in 2025, where they want this sort of all pervasive, total surveillance network that tracks and traces everything. Yeah, exactly. And that's what that film was predicting. And, since that time, I've gotten a little more into Philip K. Dick. That was one of his stories. And most of his stories, I think, had that predictive quality to them because he was hanging out with Silicon Valley nerds and the people who would build, that whole infrastructure and set it up. So I think he kind of knew what they had planned. And although Philip K. Dick was kind of crazy, I think he was kind of also warning people.
Somebody had a question for you, actually. This was submitted earlier. And it was, are actors being used as pawns to deliver certain messages? And what should they look out for in scripts so that they're not partaking in some of this?
It's definitely the case with famous actors, A-list people. I mean, it can also be the case even at times with B-list people, because there have been cases where movies themselves were actually covers for intelligence operations. There have been cases where movies were covers for drug operations. And so, the most famous of these kinds of cases would be probably the film, if you've seen Ben Affleck's Argo. Argo was about an actual CIA operation during the 70s hostage crisis in Iran, where they used the filming of this, sci-fi B movie that they made up. That was a cover for a CIA operation. So, And Ben Affleck, interestingly, right when that came out, he did an interview with, I played the clip a bunch. I can't remember if it was the Telegraph or the Guardian, but he basically says that Hollywood and the CIA are flip sides of the same coin. So, yes, I think a lot of actors at that level are happy to collude, or you could say just kind of pimp themselves out as, yeah, I'll do whatever the system wants me to do. I'll promote whatever. And I'm sure that, they're paid very well to do that. And there's a long history of actors being spies. And so that's another fascinating thing that I've covered. And so you can go back to Cary Grant, you can go back to Jimmy Stewart, you can go back to Errol Flynn, you can go back to, just tons and tons of actors and actresses that have engaged in spying. And I'm not saying they're all malicious. I mean, I think a lot of them thought, well, we're going to save our country from the communists, like Jimmy Stewart thought. They had probably good motives. But it shows the overlap between these two domains that a lot of people don't ever connect, Hollywood and the intelligence agencies. And they have a really deep connection, always have. And, Ben Affleck openly spoke to that relationship right after Argo came out. And the CIA kind of has liaison offices. They talk about consulting on various films openly, especially since the late 90s and after the Big 9 event. That relationship became a little more public, and we started getting more just straight up, almost CIA made movies like Zero Dark 30, American Sniper. A lot of these movies became kind of just straight up American propaganda films.
Yeah. It was, or primers so for things. It seemed like I thought even Julia Childs was OSS.
Yeah, she was OSS, exactly.
Yeah. So, Eva, you have
I may put a chapter in the third book, just a separate little appendix of all of the Hollywood people who did espionage, because it's really fascinating. Most people don't know that.
You should. Are we inspiring you right now?
Well, you reminded me about Julia Child, and I wrote down on a list somewhere. I don't see it, but I had a list of like all of the Hollywood spy people somewhere around here.
Yeah, that what's her name? I know that she wasn't really I don't think she was an actress, but Steinem as well. Gloria Steinem.
Gloria Steinem worked for the CIA. Yeah, exactly. She was promoting feminism for the CIA and Miss Magazine.
Yeah. Well,
there's somebody in the chat that I think knows you. They want to know if you ever smile.
Ivy Ellen.
Yeah, well, I mean, I do a lot of impressions and comedic stuff, but I mean, I'm here I was thinking we were going to be talking like, serious stuff. So I wasn't really coming with the vibe of.
We do everything. Feel free to.
Yes,
feel free
I do smile. It just depends on. Wait, is this? I might have found my piece of paper. No, I didn't. Never mind.
Wade Hunt Williams is asking if the actors are threatened if they don't comply with the Hollywood.
There's a good movie that actually touches on that subject. They may not be threatened, but they might not get certain jobs.
Blackballed.
If you watch Wag the Dog, that's a really great movie because in the film, Robert De Niro is playing the CIA guy to Hollywood. And he basically tells the director or the producer in the film, like, you're going to shoot the movie the way we want and with what propaganda we want. And when he says no, he gets threatened, and I forget what happens. But yeah, that's an example of what could happen. I mean, I would imagine that there probably have been some people who've met, bad ends. I mean, a lot of Hollywood people do end up, having an untimely demise. Could be an assassination. It could be any of these things. That's definitely possible.
Do you think California? Oh, I'm sorry.
No, go. I was just going to say, do you foresee? I'm going to stop asking questions after this one. But do you foresee another, almost like a split off, where there's a secondary option there for people who are not doing this? They just want the art to be pure.
I mean, I'm sure there's plenty of people who even, work in Hollywood who have that attitude. I mean, we've met several, we've interviewed several over the years. I just think that when a lot of money is at play, that's very difficult. And most of the time, the hardcore propaganda or the mind control stuff is in the big blockbusters. It's not in, independent films and that kind of stuff. So I'm sure, there's a lot of people who are putting out good films. I mean, there's still good movies coming out every now and then. To me, they seem a lot more rare than they used to be. But yeah, I would think there's still purists.
Mhm.
Yeah. I was curious if you feel like that, the movies are made all over the country, but they tend to base out of Atlanta, California. Do you feel like one particular area, like California, is the root of a lot of this?
It's the devil's den compared to Georgia.
Yeah.
or
Well, it's
something.
always been known that California was always,
California knows how to party.
Right.
Well, California is a military-industrial complex state,
Mm.
so that they probably put Hollywood there not just for the weather reasons, but also I think they had plans to really use it as kind of a base for social engineering for the rest of the country and the messages that they wanted to put out and spread. And, if you read like the most famous propagandist of all time, Edward Bernays, he said, Hollywood is the greatest engine of propaganda the world's ever seen. So I would imagine that, California was chosen for a reason. I used to live in San Diego for many years. My dad was in the Navy. It's a massive Navy state. The government runs and controls a lot. So I would imagine that, California was chosen for a reason. I don't know all the reasons, but you've got secret Navy SEAL bases. You've got people are figuring out now there's all these tunnels underground underneath LA, which people didn't know about before, which actually was in a lot of movies before it became public knowledge, by the way. But yeah, I think probably California was chosen for those reasons.
All
Do you
right.
think everything that's been going on in California has a future conspiracy?
What do you mean?
Well, what's been going on in California over the recent months with the fires and issues? Do you
You
feel
mean
that's going to,
wildfires?
yes,
Mm.
it's
And
going
what
to
about
play
them?
into something? Do you think it's related to Hollywood or any of those?
My best guess would be that they either allowed or desired those things to happen for a future smart city that they want to put there, would be my guess. That's
our guess too.
that's on record as to what they wanted. So, I mean, that to me, that seems to line up. I don't actually know. I mean, they might have just allowed it to happen. They might have had bums starting fires. They might have had drones. Who knows? But I think that, when you're talking about people like Gavin Newsom and these people are completely malicious.
Yeah.
You know,
They're selected, not elected. I mean, that's a very subjective opinion, but it's an opinion. I wanted to, speaking of that, you're in Tennessee, right?
No, well, we live part of the year in Tennessee and part of the year in Florida.
Oh, okay.
Well, what gives it away behind him?
Well, I know. I was looking. I'm like, I see that. What area of Florida? What area of the free state of Florida?
St. Augustine.
Oh, that's so cool. I love that city.
Nice.
So you've seen your fair share of what's going on lately with the eastern Tennessee and the western North Carolina and the storms that hit, well, of course, Tampa Bay area. But what is your opinion with all of that? Because what you said about California, we have a similar opinion on that one.
I mean, FEMA. I mean, I know that geoengineering is real. It can be weaponized. I don't know to what extent that specific incident was, but I wouldn't be surprised. I think that a lot of these areas, a lot of these regions can be at least loosely targeted. And you can go back to World War II where they started cloud seeding. Ben Livingston is the father of weather weapons. Alex interviewed him maybe 15 years ago. You can still find those interviews. And he talks about how they were doing cloud seeding and all that in World War II. And they kind of upped their game and made it a little more intense during Vietnam. That's covered in Annie Jacobson's book on the history of DARPA, where the DARPA was experimenting with not just geoengineering, but also other types of bioweaponry from that type of spraying.
Operation Popeye.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Agent Orange is also ties into that in her book. So I wouldn't be surprised. I mean, there's a long history of that. I don't know specifically in that case if it was going on.
Mhm.
So, but yeah, I wouldn't be surprised.
Hopefully,
Okay. What? Sorry, Eva.
I was going to say, hopefully you weren't affected by the storms. You're home in
Yeah.
Tennessee.
The first thing that came, the power was out for a day here in St. Augustine, and but that was it. And the next storm, the next hurricane that came, the one that was a really bad one, or I forget which one. It may have been Helene that knocked the power out. I forget, but no, nothing happened. I don't live in East Tennessee. We live outside Nashville, more West Tennessee. So.
Oh, okay. Well, that's good.
So I have some questions for you. I feel that people like you are the modern day warriors. You know, instead of swords, we have words, and a lot of people are too busy. Huh? Yes, exactly. And you know, that's how the wars are fought now. It seems like.
Yeah.
So my question is, how did you get into this? What gives you purpose? Is this your purpose? I'm assuming this is, because I wouldn't imagine this is kind of a thankless, very tough thing to do, is to bring truth objectively to people. And a lot of them don't want to hear it, I would imagine, as well. And you get a lot of pushback, I would assume, as well, because InfoWars is not always well received. So what brought you to all of this, basically?
Yeah, I mean, for me, it was a long journey of back in college, and even maybe before college, I had an interest in both Hollywood and conspiracy topics. So I was reading both things at the same time. And then when I did undergrad, that's around the time that when I first got into maybe sophomore year, junior year of college, I came across Alex's stuff. And that introduced me to some new things, new topics that I'd never covered before when I was reading about conspiracy stuff in my teens. And I never really thought that I would be on InfoWars or anything like that. I just thought I would kind of be, go be a professor. I was going to go to university, get a degree, and then maybe try to teach college was what I thought I would do. And, you know, things just totally went in a very different direction. Throughout my undergraduate, I've always continued to watch and pay attention to that stuff. But I never really thought the worlds would meet between, you know, my interest in movies, and I was taking film classes and literature classes. But at the same time, I was like, you know, interested in history and all this conspiracy stuff. And eventually, when people started blogging, I started blogging about 2007, 8, 9, and never thought much would come of that. And eventually that snowballed into somebody reached out from an interview that I'd done with Sean Stone, and they said, "Hey, do you have a book?" So my publisher, and he was like, I said, "Yeah, sure." So that turned into the first book in 2016. By that time, I was doing a lot of audio podcasting instead of blogging, and I should have been doing video earlier, but I didn't decide to do that until much later. But that eventually turned into a YouTube channel that turned into more, you know, like I said, video related content. And then we did a full production TV show based on the book in 2018. You can watch that at Gaia. It's called Hollywood Decoded. And then that kind of opened up more doors to other media stuff. I wrote the second book. And so, yeah, it just kind of snowballed. Like it was just me pursuing and trying to figure out and know what's true. And I enjoyed doing media work. I enjoyed being on the camera, enjoy talking and debating and doing all the different things that we do. So I just tried to find a way that I could take all of those interests and just make them my own job, be my own boss. Part of it was also being motivated to leave grad school. I didn't like grad school anymore. By the time I got to it, I didn't want to be a professor anymore. I didn't want to work at a state school. I mean, I wanted to just be my own boss. I was sick of having bosses. And so there's a lot of factors that motivated me to get to what I'm doing now.
Like anything to avoid a real job with a little bit of a motivation there?
Well, I had a lot of real jobs, so to speak.
Yeah, they suck, right?
Yeah, I mean, but I mean, what we do, it's not like I mean, I know you weren't saying this, but it's not like it's not a real job.
It's a lot of work.
Your own boss, you work more.
You do. Yeah,
you
people don't understand that.
You get up until you go to bed. You're working.
Yes, you do.
So
holidays and weekends. When
I had a boss, it was kind of easier because you know, there's all this downtime and you're off.
Yep.
But no, I mean, we never stopped working. but that's the logic of what we do in terms of media and being your own boss is you never stop working. But anyway, so yeah, it just snowballed from just starting by blogging. And then I think you pick up on the trends, like back in 2007, 8, 9, everybody just blogged. And then that's when people started doing podcast audio wise. So then I was like, okay, we did a lot of audios throughout those years, covering news, covering, events, movies, and then it turned into video. So.
No, you were ahead of it. I didn't start all this until
No,
2020.
I was behind.
See, okay. I was really behind. Total late bloomer. So yes. Well, we have a couple questions here in the chat too.
Absolutely.
Let's see. Somebody's asking, what is Alex Jones like, or what is it like to work on InfoWars and do that?
Yeah, so I've been hosting for about 5 years now. It's been a lot of fun. My situation is very flexible because I'm more like a contractor in the sense that I just host the 4th hour on every Friday. So I don't have to do a whole lot of, I mean, we've been to the InfoWars office many times and we've hosted in studio and all that many times, but for me, it's super easy. And I mean, Alex has always been totally cool. Never had any problems, never any issues. He's exactly the same in person or off camera than he is on camera. No different. So I think a lot of people think that, he's a character or that he's going to be, toned down. He's always
strikes me as being just genuine as
he's always 100%. He's never calmed down. It's always just going 100%, 150%. So,
Jay is asking, what do you see as trends in movies, like i.e. what new issues are they planning or starting to promote now?
It's interesting because they push the woke stuff so hard for the last 10 years that Hollywood suffered quite a bit from doing that. And I think people are getting tired of it. More and more people are getting sick of like having these stupid preachy messages being shoved down their throat in movies when we want to go have fun. We want to have a good time. We don't want to be hearing all this fake guilt complex stuff that they try to give us. So I think the old studio system is hurting and it's probably going away. Jamie Kennedy is a friend of ours. He's always talking about how it's dying, it's going away. So the trends would probably be, they're probably trying to figure out how they can put all these same types of social engineering, mind control, toxic, culture messages into streaming services, because that's kind of taken the place of the old Hollywood system. We have Amazon Studios and Apple Studios and Netflix and all that now. And so that's supposed to replace, I guess, what studios used to be. So I would imagine that they want to try to continue to push it there. But I mean, people seem to be more interested in the type of content that where people are being themselves on TikTok or YouTube rather than the fake stuff. Because like, for example, when people like a Will Smith or a J-Lo, when they come to social media, they don't understand it because they feel like, oh, it's still got to be this highly produced fake thing. And there's all these people getting like tens of millions of followers more than them who are not as fake right, or more authentic. So I think that like everything is becoming counterintuitive and everything's changing. So I don't know how they're going to compete with where things are going. It's a good question. The trends, I think they're still pushing like transhumanism, and they're pushing sex bots in movies that we can replace men and women with sex bot, which I think is ridiculous. I don't think humans are ever going to replace human beings with sex bots, but I think those are things that they're pushing.
Okay. Yeah, that's actually a really interesting observation about the authenticity being a real factor. I've seen it, but I haven't heard it put quite so eloquently.
Well, my wife noticed that. She was like talking about how on TikTok, and I'm not a huge fan of TikTok, but she was noticing trends on there, and she was pointing out how like when J-Lo tried to go to TikTok, like everyone just bombed her. Like she just got destroyed in comments every time she tried to post, and she would try to put up these things that seemed very like natural and authentic between her and Ben Affleck. And it was obviously fake and like it just didn't work. Like nobody bought it. And people that are, 30 and under don't really care about what JLo thinks. And people are tired of being preached to. Like they're tired of having, these like preachy messages, and people don't really care what celebrities think anymore. So
that's good. That's not a bad thing though. I mean, it's the awakening that's happening, and the veil of bullshit that has disappeared. It's very both heartwarming and just enlightening. I think it's
absolutely.
Nice.
It's a great thing. It's not a bad thing. It's a great thing because
it really is.
I mean, it's like Jamie Kennedy was saying, like I'm part of the older model of Hollywood, and I want to understand how you guys are doing it, right? Like me and my wife, like because we're not Hollywood, but like we are the next generation of the people that are doing the things that the Hollywood people don't know how to do, like having their own social media and doing their own YouTube channel and doing all this stuff. Like they're used to having all these people and teams do all that shit for them. And it's like, no, we are the ones that are really doing the hard work. We do all of our own stuff. I run my own business. I ship all my own stuff. Like, you know what I mean? Like we run our own stuff.
And that's why you work 24/7.
Exactly. Yeah.
We all work 24/7. Speaking of the movies and the priming, I guess I would call it. There's a quote that I read in the book that you had written, I believe, and it said, "For some reason, theism is irrational, but alien origins are rational." And I thought that was very poignant right there.
Yeah, I think Hollywood has pushed this narrative of alien creators, alien genetic experimentation that's farming us, and we're being tended like an animal farm or something towards some technocratic goal that they have. And in that chapter, the Spielberg chapter, I was looking at how they really pushed this psyop for going back to the 40s and 50s, really the beginning of the whole alien stuff. It arises out of things that I think are pretty obvious psyops, things that are fake. I think Roswell, I think the Area 51 stuff is really it's just a made up narrative. And when you get into the first people who were the abductees, the Betty and Barney Hills, the George Adamskis, their stories are very ridiculous. George Adamski claims he was taken on a ship, and these Venusian, Marilyn Monroe looking alien women were trying to proposition him. It's all just ridiculous, right? And that's like the most famous, that's the first alien abduction story. Well, it later came out that his story matched a science fiction novel. And the weird part about that isn't even that. It's that the head of the CIA at the time, Alan Dulles, was saying that he would take to court anyone who challenged Adamski's story. Why does the head of the CIA care what some random weirdo guy claimed about an alien abduction story? Unless they had a vested interest in wanting that narrative to be out there and to grow. And if you look at the history of so-called alien abductees, there's a pretty consistent pattern of people being used, being given disinformation. In fact, there's a whole documentary on this called Mirage Men. I highly recommend anybody who's interested in aliens go watch Mirage Men, because I think it really pulls the rug out from under that whole operation. And it's decades long, and it ties into, I believe, what they're now trying to push with disclosure, which is a new narrative to get rid of what we've traditionally believed in the West about man, his origins, and his destiny, to give it some origin, a new ethic, a new end goal that is, the alien, visitors they're coming back and they want us to form a world government. And if we don't, they're going to, hurt us, or we're not going to make it. We're going to destroy each other unless we have global socialism. It's always the same stuff.
Isn't that Project Bluebeam part of that? Kind of?
It could be, right? So Bluebeam is the idea that they could stage, through holographic technology, alien invasion.
The new god.
They could very well use that. But I tend to look more at the history of MJ-12 and the doctrinal warfare program, and how C.D. Jackson, who was involved in the CIA's religious tinkering, why is he consulting on Hollywood alien movies? And he was consulting on these classic big alien blockbusters like Day the Earth Stood Still. I mean, you got CIA people telling, Hollywood people in the 50s how to make these alien movies and why to make them. So to me, that's obvious what we call religious engineering. And so, so in that chapter, I covered a bunch of examples of that. And I think it ties into the ultimate goal, which is to get people to believe in the need for a world government, a one world religion, and some kind of like, socialist, technocratic, Davos World Economic Forum control.
Yeah. There's a question in the. Oh, sorry. Are you going to say the same thing?
Well, I see a few questions in there.
Yeah, there's a question in the chat. Do you think, or do you feel we really went to the moon?
I'm a skeptic on most things like that until I see good reason to believe it, or until the things that are a challenge are answered. So to me, it's absurd that the technology that we had is lost. That's what the official story is. It's absurd to me that they played golf on the moon. I don't believe that in a life-threatening situation, you really cared about your other crew members. The slightest rip or tear in your suit could result in a disaster, not only for your life, but for the whole team, because you need all your members there to get back. And yet you're playing golf. I mean, that's obviously a staged photo op in my view. Now, how far can we go? I don't know. But I'm very skeptical about the classic narrative of what supposedly we did. Also, they have admitted that they've lost all the original footage. It's supposed to be one of the most important events in human history.
Right.
They've lost the footage. By the way, the moon rocks are all admitted to be not from the moon. That's mainstream news. So it tells someone who believes in all of that can make sense of the mainstream narrative contradictions. I don't believe that I'm bound to believe in any of that.
Okay, fair enough. I was just curious. Eva,
I believe that satellites are real and that rockets are real, but I've not seen evidence that we're flying 250,000 miles to 240,000 miles to the moon in something the size of a Prius.
That kind of leads on. So where do you stand on the flat Earth theory then?
I've never been a flat earther. I've always thought. I don't have a set. I don't mind people questioning it, but I've never been convinced by the flat Earth.
Me neither. I can't see it. Maybe, it's a bunch of round earthers here.
I don't know how all of the physics and the astronomy works, but I've not been convinced of anything like flat Earth. And I think they hinged a lot on that guy, what's his name, Jaron or whatever, going to Antarctica and filming for 24 hours straight. Did you see all that?
No.
I did not. Yeah, I did not.
Yeah, so that one of the big flat Earth guys went to Antarctica, and the challenge was that he was going to film for 24 hours consistently the cycle of the sun, and it didn't fit the flat Earth model. And so he was one of the biggest flat earthers, and he's like, I have to admit this doesn't work. So of course all the flat Earth people, being like a cult, were like, oh well, you're fake and you didn't do it right and all this stuff. But it's just that the data didn't fit their models.
Yeah, the cognitive dissonance is interesting, right? That happens with all of us. I guess all of us.
Yeah, we're all susceptible to that.
Yeah, especially when we have conviction in something. I have several questions here. Actually, here's one. What advice would you give to your younger self?
That's a great one. In fact, I was actually thinking about making a video on that topic. I wouldn't have been concerned with college. I wouldn't have been concerned with trying to do things in the legacy system. I would have been much more focused on telling myself to start my own business and my own stuff earlier than when I did, because I didn't really start trying to do my own thing until about 2012, 13, 14. So I should have started even earlier. I should have focused more on, again, trying to do things as they were emerging. So instead of trying to do a lot of audio when video and YouTube was getting popular, I should have gone ahead and tried to do more and more video stuff. So I was always a little bit behind. What else would I have told myself? I would have told myself to put more money into stacking Bitcoin rather than trying to trade or rather than trying to do other investments, worrying with stocks or gold or something like that. I would have just focused on Bitcoin 100%. Not to be so worried and concerned about whether or not ventures would fail and just go ahead and try to do them. Because I think a lot of times when you're younger, especially in your 20s, like you're a lot more concerned about, oh, I don't, you're afraid of failing rather than just doing it. And then if you fail, well, you learn from that and then you move on.
Yep.
But, trying to worry too much about, will it be perfect? Oh, I don't know if I can write a book yet, because if I try to write a book, it won't be perfect. And it's much more important, I think, to do it and keep doing it rather than worrying about creating this sort of perfect thing.
Analysis paralysis.
Yeah, good way to put it.
That's all really good advice. Sorry,
Yes.
Eva.
No, I was going to say that's also something that we were taught by your 20s. You have to be at a certain level in your career. So I think there was a lot of pressure put on your 20s, and maybe not so much now, to be in a specific place, time in your career.
I think people should not listen to that.
I agree,
I
100%.
think just get rid of all those numbers. Like, just get rid of them all. Like, forget
would tell
about
my
where
younger
you're supposed to
self
be at
that.
this point. You're supposed to be married at this point. You're supposed to have kids at this point. This is where you're the success level at this point. I think if you want to start your career over at like 65 years old, you should. If you want to go back to
Right.
school at 49, you should. If you don't want to go to school at all at 19, don't. Like,
Mhm.
I just
I'm
think
with
you should do where, I don't know. I just don't think we should be following these societal rules.
Mhm.
They're entrapping.
Yes,
So.
very much so.
Yeah, well, another thing too, like I had middle class parents, and I think one of the big failures of middle class working people, which they're usually very good people, I'm not dissing them, but one of the mistakes is that they don't actually study or learn about investing the money, and so they kind of stay in the cycle of the working rat race. And the people who are upper class, they don't have the same mindset. They understand that wealth and even debt, you can leverage debt to make money. But my dad, for example, and again, I'm not knocking my dad, I respect him, but he always had the attitude of like, never go into debt, never use debt. That's not true. I don't believe that that's a mistaken middle class mindset, because he thought, and this is like an 80s, Reagan era thing, like, oh, well, debt means that you're going to be forever stuck in debt. But that can be a tool that you leverage for future wealth creation. So I'm not saying to get totally in debt, but I'm saying like, no, you can actually, leverage debt for a business. And I think that's an example, or for an investment. And I think that's an example that a lot of middle class people or working class Joes don't think that way. And so they're always living paycheck to paycheck because they don't understand it's a rigged game. So actually conspiracy stuff helped me learn that, wait a minute, if this is a rigged game, then some people have figured out this game because they're not all poor.
Mhm.
And so they figured out certain ways to take money and make money rather than working for a fiat currency that's constantly being devalued.
Yeah. Working smarter, not harder.
Mhm.
And learning to invest. And I don't even necessarily mean stocks. I mean, people can do okay with stocks, but I mean, mainly like, just for me, crypto worked. It wasn't, that made sense to me. Stocks and that kind of stuff, it didn't really make sense to me. I'm not very good at that, but I understand crypto.
Who or what has been your biggest teacher?
Well, I have a lot of different teachers, I guess you could say. I mean, in terms of religious philosophy, obviously, I would say Jesus is a guide. He would be probably the number one teacher. I've learned a lot from different philosophers over the years. Plato, Aristotle were important teachers. I would say even literary works were important. C.S. Lewis books, Tolkien, Lord of the Rings were good teachers. There's a lot of good messages in those texts. My priest is a very good guy. Father Vladimir is a good teacher. I respect him. I have philosophy professors that were good teachers, and guys that I've met over the years who've been good influences. Father Deacon Dr. Ananias. Teachers. I feel like I'm probably gonna have to apologize to somebody that I know that was like, "How come you didn't mention me?" That's a good question, man. I haven't really thought about that. I feel like I had to kind of like find a bunch of internet daddies to be teachers because, you know, I mean, I didn't have the best home life, so it was kind of a challenge. But I mean, my stepdad was a good guy. My dad, in different ways, was a good instructor in different ways. Teachers.
I think a lot of us relate to that.
Those are the ones, yeah,
Yes.
that come to mind. I'm sure there have been some people that were. Alex Jones was an influence over the years. Yeah.
Yeah, I've been watching Alex for a very, very, very long time. I started like probably about the same time you did.
Oh, wow.
And, yeah.
2000.
Yeah. And it's interesting to watch him go from being called crazy to now. And the things he's gone through. Yeah. To see that, you know, that little, you know, situation where he was just, you know, kind of fringe back then. And, you know,
yeah, I remember when
a niche group knew about him.
I used to go to the university library and I would download his Austin cable access broadcast that he would put on his website, and you could download those, and they were Windows media files. And I used to take them home and watch them after class every day when I was in college in the 2000s, like 2004, 5, 6. And to you know, to see Alex go from like Windows media cable access to like, you know, I think a couple weeks ago on the Friday broadcast, because the Friday broadcast loops and then it plays all the way until the Sunday broadcast. I mean, we had like a 30 million viewed or 30 million impressioned live stream a few weeks ago. That was pretty wild.
Wow.
So.
Yeah, it's kind of validating because people would call me, you know, nuts and conspiracy theory and all this for watching him. It's kind of validating to see the success.
DVDs out. I used to give out Alex DVDs in college. I would burn them off and I'd give them out, and everybody would call you crazy and make fun of you. And
well, I'm very happy for his success, and I feel, like I said, I feel validated because of his success.
Yeah,
like,
no, we all should be validated.
He's a prophet. It's just like that. Right. He's a prophet. You know?
We were right. Yeah.
His delivery sometimes is, you know, people don't understand it, but he's still a prophet.
Well, I think Alex figured out that people like characters, and if you be yourself and you're a character, you have a much better chance of succeeding in media than if you are just a boring newsreader. Nobody cares about boring newsreaders. They want the actual person being who they are, and that's the thing that I was saying about the celebrities. Like, they don't understand that people want the authenticity in the online people. They don't want the fake Hollywood character. They want authenticity.
Yeah, makes sense. What is your favorite conspiracy theory?
I mean, I treat them as subjects to study and analyze and see whether they're true or not. So I don't really have like favorites or not favorites, but in this domain, my favorite topic is espionage, the history of espionage, and how that relates to so-called conspiracies. That's much more interesting to me than Tartaria or flat earth, moon. Like, all that stuff to me is dumb. I'm more interested in the stuff that you can verify with actual, you know, history and books and that kind of stuff. So I just covered, for example, history of British spies not too long ago. T.E. Lawrence, Gertrude Bell, St. John Philby. That was a fascinating book. It's called Black Gold Spies, and we lectured through that whole text. That to me is much more interesting than the stupid internet stuff of whatever. And that stuff comes and goes. Like, oh, everybody's a female to male or a male to female trans. That's so dumb to me. Alex Jones is Bill Hicks. Like, that's all just stupid stuff.
Yeah.
So I'm not into any of that stuff.
Yeah, it's interesting to me that, you know, Winston Churchill would have been labeled a conspiracy theorist in today's world. So
for me, it's not even conspiracy theory. Like, it's either real world conspiracy criminality, right? Because conspiracy is a crime on the books, conspiring to commit a crime.
Yet nobody gets in trouble for it on
No.
on
I
the,
mean, it's an
on
actual
the
crime you can be convicted of, right? And I know foreign governments engage in espionage and conspire, and that's, what happens on a daily basis. So that to me is what's interesting, not outlandish speculations about, I mean, it's fun to talk about this stuff. I don't have a problem with it. People want to talk about cryptids and, whatever, but that's how I view it. I'm not even really into conspiracy theories, honestly. I'm into what's like verifiable. So, but I will theorize. Like in my book, sometimes I theorize. Like I'll give you. Here's my favorite conspiracy theory. That's a theory. Dave McGowan wrote a book called Program to Kill, and he theorizes that many of the serial killers may have been involved in a program to create serial killers. That to me is not necessarily demonstrable. It is a theory with some evidence. That one I think is interesting.
That's right up Eva's alley. That's her. She studies all that crazy stuff, and it's very interesting.
Yeah, it's a good book. Program to Kill is still a good book. It was written in like
Program to Kill,
but it's still good. Yeah, by Dave McGowan.
She's already one-click ordering on Amazon.
Yeah, that's right. Somebody had asked too, what's your favorite movie?
I mean, there's different movies for different moods. So when it comes to the classics, the original Star Wars trilogy, I grew up with that. Godfather trilogy is a classic. I put that in the second book, analysis of that. Lord of the Rings I enjoyed, even though it could have been better. I like the new Denis Villeneuve Dune 1 and Dune 2. I thought Dune 2 was a masterpiece. Those are my favorites, and then I've got some classics like 12 Monkeys, Terry Gilliam movies are pretty good. Those are the ones that come to mind. I like a lot of David Lynch movies.
Yeah. So what are you working on and doing now that you are interested in, and tell us about some of that's inspiring you or that you want to make people aware of?
Well, so the first two books were fun. The second one came out in 2018, so we're like 7 years removed, and that's not a bad thing, because in that 7 years since the second book, I focused on a bunch of other stuff. And I did a lot more video content. So the last 6 to 8 months, I've been back writing the third one. And if you get out of the habit of writing, it's not like you can't go back to it. It's just that it's slower. Because when in the 2010s, I was writing a lot. I would write a significant essay at least once or twice a week. And in the last 7 years, I've written a lot less. So it's much slower process getting back into the grind of all the footnotes, and it's so boring. It's so technical. It's just, anyway, that is a challenge, but I've got 325 pages and I need to get to around 400. So hopefully Esoteric Hollywood 3 will be out in the next couple months, and that will be, hopefully it lives up to, the first two. When you do a third one, you always feel like, well, this one's got to be better than the second one. I do believe the second one's better than the first one. So there's pressure to make this one good. That's why it's taking longer. So that's a project that I really want to hurry up and get done. What else are we working on? We are working on, I'm thinking about what the next book will be. I think probably I should write something about a series that I do called the Global Elite Book Series, where we've read through, 50, 60 or more writings of the power elite. And one thing we do on my channel and on my website is we lecture through those and kind of summarize them, because most people don't have time to read all these boring globalist books. So I read them for you and I summarize them. And so I've done all this for,
like all Cliff Notes, right?
Yeah.
You're probably too young to know what Cliff Notes are.
And so I feel like I should take all of that info and put it in a book. But that'll be a whole nother, series of writing. I'll probably self-publish that one. I don't know yet. So that's another project down the road, probably. I'd like to put espionage stuff in that one. But the thing is that, like, when you write about espionage from a history perspective, nobody cares about that. Nobody buys books on that. People want like fiction stories for that. And for this kind of stuff, they want like, like sexy, sensational stuff. They don't want a boring geopolitical text. So it has to be readable. It has to appeal to people. And like when I cover that stuff on my channel, those are some of the lower view counts, so it's frustrating because that's the stuff that I find most interesting, but that's the least interesting to broad audiences. So you have to kind of tailor it and tweak it to appeal. So anyway, those are the things that we're going to do. I want to do more stand-up and more live events where it's straight up comedy type stuff. That's always kind of been in the mix, but the funnest times I've had in the last 2 years were doing comedians podcasts. So it's not that I don't like Alex Jones or any of that stuff. It's just that I really have more fun, doing Triple E's podcast or Jamie Kennedy's podcast, Sam Hyde's podcast. That's a lot of fun to me. So I want to do more of that. Projects. Those are the main projects that come to mind. I can't think of what other projects I have planned. We love doing live events. Those are a lot of fun. In fact, we didn't branch out and start doing live events until a couple of years ago. And so our live events are a lot of fun. They're kind of like a party. Okay. We usually, at our live events, we usually get about 120. So it ranges from 100 to 120. But that's because it has to be focused on more than just movies. I think the reason we got about 50 or 60 at the Tampa Bay was because it was not anything in regards to the other stuff that we do. Mm-hmm. So like we have an audience of people that likes the Hollywood stuff. Mm-hmm. We have another audience of people that likes the Alex Jones, conspiracy stuff. We have another audience of people that likes the philosophy, religious stuff.
I like all of it. We like all of it here.
That's what I'm saying. Like the live events have a bigger crowd because it ties it all in. But yeah, it's like, I don't know, you've got these different niches within your own audience of people who want this, then the people want this, and the other people who want this. So you got to kind of keep feeding them these different things.
Do you have a live event scheduled coming up?
No, actually we don't. Well, no, not personally. No, we're supposed to go to somebody else's live event in the UK, but we haven't scheduled any new ones.
So we have some super personal questions to ask you.
Well, let us know if you do.
We'll do. Yeah, we did a Orlando event last year, and it was a lot of fun. We had about 100 people come to the Orlando event, and we do all day events. So kind of like Tampa Bay Screams is all day.
Yeah.
Except ours are basically from like 5 until midnight. Like you get 3 long lectures, book signing and all that. So it's different vibe. It's a lot more just information and people talking, but it's a lot of fun.
You're going to come back to the next Tampa Bay Screams, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we had a blast. Yeah.
I hope so.
So we have some super personal questions to ask you.
Okay. Uh-oh.
Right, ready?
Oh, they're not too personal.
They're very personal.
Uh-oh.
All right. What is your favorite condiment?
So
you're thinking awfully hard.
I moved towards like a pretty strict kind of meat-based diet.
Okay.
Almost carnivore. I mean, I eat a little bit of carbs. So pretty much the only condiment I ever get is some kind of mild barbecue sauce. That's it.
That's fair.
I hate mayonnaise. I don't do mustard. I rarely do like organic ketchup. But no, it's pretty much the only condiment ever is some kind of barbecue sauce. That's it.
Barbecue sauce, as Ted Lasso would say. All right. So you're on death row. Mm-hmm. You get to have a last meal. Anything you want, obviously. What would that be?
We were just talking about this the other day. That's funny you said that. I think my wife asked me that, and we were talking about, because we watched some movie and somebody was getting their death row meal. We were talking about this. I think I would still just pick, because I usually eat almost carnivore, so I'm always eating barbecue steak, chicken, fish. Mm-hmm. I'd probably just still get a really good steak. I mean, you can't beat that. Even though that's basically all I've eaten for 5 years, like I would still get that.
But would you get the garlic bread with it?
No.
Wow.
Now, I haven't had bread in 5 years.
Oh.
I've had no bread, no chips, like tortilla chips, pizza, pasta, cake, desserts. I've had none of that in 5 years.
Not a single Christmas cookie?
No greens. I've had no Christmas cookies.
Well, you've
My
avoided the
wife is good
glyphosate.
she can make some really cool keto desserts, and I'll eat some of those.
Like, do you have all your abs?
Have what?
Do you have all your abs?
My abs?
Yes.
What do you mean?
Like your stomach muscles. Do you have all your abs because you're eating?
Do people
all
lose them?
meat?
I don't understand.
No,
What do you mean? Do I have them? Everybody has them unless they had them. What do you mean?
I know. I'm just saying, like, are you like ripped as anything?
No, I don't.
Because
I've been working. I'm trying to get a 6-pack, but I do not have a 6-pack now.
Okay. Usually, people who eat meat are just shredded. So
No, I mean, I've asked I have a buddy who's like super shredded, and I keep asking him to like, I'm like, how do I get shredded? And he's like, oh, you got to do, it's like this insane routine. And I'm like, oh, how am I supposed to follow this routine? It's crazy.
it's like a job. Seriously,
Yeah, it's like a whole job.
it
I'm
is.
like, how
It's
do
a
you do it?
job. All right. You're on
I mean,
naked and
we
afraid.
work out. We go to the gym.
Yeah.
But it's like if we go to the gym 3 times a week and it's still like not near enough to get to the shredded point. I'm like, good grief, I have to do this every day.
Twice a day if you want to get shredded.
Oh,
Oh,
Yeah.
ouch.
wow.
Yeah, when I've
Add
I've-
another job to it.
Yeah, I've
Yeah.
competed.
Yeah, how are you supposed to do that when you like do media like most of the day? Like,
You're sponsored usually somehow.
Oh.
You try and do it, you're getting sponsors. But yeah, it's hard to do it, and especially running your own businesses. It's really hard to do it.
right.
I was, getting up, doing cardio, going to the gym.
Okay.
And then you go back and you go do more cardio.
You
and,
seriously got to do it 2 times a day?
2, maybe 3, depending on what, if you're actually getting ready to compete or where you want to be.
Well, no, just to be like looking svelte and shredded.
Spelt.
Looking
You
good.
could get away with once a day.
Okay. Does it need to
So-
be like a super intense every day or like a medium intensity every day? Workout.
I would say medium to super intense.
Okay. Okay.
But you can get more with less as long as you keep the intensity up. Like
That's what I heard a dude say when,
Yeah.
like a big, do you know who Elliot Holst is?
I do.
He's like a
not.
famous fitness trainer dude. We got invited out to his, he lives outside of Orlando. We went to his thing for an event, and he was explaining something because he used to compete in not Mr. Universe, Mr.
Olympia?
Strongman. He used to do
Okay.
strongman.
Oh,
competition.
strongman, yeah.
And he was talking about something. He said something like, I'm trying to remember how he phrased it. Like, you don't have to actually like destroy yourself every day.
Yeah.
He said, if you can do a really intense workout that really pushes the muscles, like that's enough for several days. That's what he claimed.
Yeah.
But I don't know.
Yeah, you're
But he
tearing the
wasn't
muscle
interested
down.
in being shredded. He was interested in just bulk. Like, so maybe
Yeah.
he wasn't going for shredded.
As long as you're tearing the muscle down every time you go,
That's what he said.
and then you're giving yourself enough time for it to build back up.
Uh-huh.
So you could go Monday, Tuesday, take off Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, take off the
Okay.
weekend.
Okay.
So, and you should still get a lot out of it if it's a high
Okay.
intensity. So your diet's good. Do you know your blood type?
I don't know.
Okay.
I'm gonna guess.
So-
HIV plus.
No. Usually type O is very favorable to meat.
Right.
So yeah, if that's what you agree with, if that's what you like, you're probably a type O.
Yeah, I don't actually know. I'll have to go get it tested or something. I have no idea.
Oh, okay.
Well, remember this conversation someday when you get it back.
There you go.
Mhm.
All right, you're on Naked and Afraid. What
Mm.
are you picking to take with you?
I don't. Is that like a survival show? I'm not
Yeah.
even familiar with that.
It is a survival
Yeah.
show.
Is that the one where they drop them on an island or something?
They drop them. They have no clothes. They're allowed to take one thing with them.
Can you take like a survival manual? I've never
I know.
tried.
I'm like, can I take a freaking phone? Right? I would
Well,
imagine.
am I on the TV show and they've done it, or like I'm like them but I'm dropped on an island? I can take one thing.
Like them dropped on an island.
dropped on an island. Yeah.
Would you take like your favorite pan for steak?
No, I guess I would take a manual on how to survive on an island.
It's actually a good one.
Yeah.
I usually see them just grab a knife, or grab a water carrier. If you have a manual, you can figure it all out.
Yeah, exactly.
That's right.
I feel like there's a lot of challenges and I need a lot of instructions.
Yeah, that's actually a really good answer.
Mm.
It's a really
Don't
good
give it
answer.
away.
How to
Better hide it.
Survive on an Island for Dummies. How's that? Let me have that book.
All right, and if you have 15 minutes to catch up on something that you want to do, or you're reading, or you're watching, or your podcasts, what are you reading, or listening, or watching? What is that 15-minute increment there?
I usually try to catch up on what Alex is talking about in the first hour. I listen to some comedian podcasts here and there. I might listen to Tripoli. I might listen to Sam Hyde for a 15-minute clip. I might listen to, if I'm listening to a book on audio, I might try to get that in. I listen to a lot of financial stuff. Well, Bitcoin stuff, basically. So I usually keep up with Bitcoin and crypto every day. A lot of those videos are 10 to 15 minutes. So it's probably that Bitcoin news.
That's awesome. That is really awesome. And where can people find you? It's Jay's Analysis or Jay Dyer, right?
Either one usually pulls up. On Instagram, it's Jay's Analysis. On Twitter, it's Jay Dyer. TikTok, Jay Dyer. I'm on Rockfin, which is a great free speech-based platform, Jay Dyer. And then YouTube, Jay Dyer. So you can follow me at all those outlets.
Okay. And have you dealt with a lot of censorship?
I've had two pretty severe cases. In 2018, my whole website got deleted, and that was my main source of income. Then, I started doing all this full time in about 2014-15. So having the whole website deleted in 2018 was a huge blow, but it was actually ended up being a good thing because I learned to build my own website, start from the ground up, be independent. So that worked out ultimately for the good. And then my light went out. And then in 2020, I got demonetized on YouTube, which was not a severe blow, but it was a hefty blow because I had a decent amount of income coming in. I think I had about 40,000, 50,000 subscribers at the time. So, that was multiple thousands of dollars a month that I lost from that. But then miraculously, they remonetized me 2 weeks ago, which is kind of unheard of. So,
congratulations.
So I managed to keep my channel through all that thick and thin when a lot of people were getting deleted on YouTube. Yeah. So those were the two main big censorships that happened to me. Everything else has kind of been not a huge deal. Oddly enough, I've never been censored on Twitter, even under Jack Dorsey. I never had any problems, even when it was pretty heavy censorship. That's never been a huge issue. Instagram, it seems like the growth has been slowed, and I've been maybe shadow banned, but those are the main examples for me, which they all sucked, but still.
I lost my entire account for
where at
Twitter for a year.
From under Jack or recently?
No, I got it back recently, but it
was under Jack Dorsey.
Yeah, it was gone.
Oh wow, were you was it Coof 19 related talking points?
Yes, it was.
I figured. Yeah, that seemed to get a lot of people. I assumed so I just never talked about that on Twitter because I just assumed it wasn't going to be tolerated.
I felt that it was my purpose to let people know what the things I was finding out, because I would read all the medical papers and translate them from other countries and read the peer review research and ask my friends who were doctors or in the business, hey, what does this mean? If I didn't understand it, I'd be like, oh, that's not good. So I felt like it was kind of my job to make sure people got fully informed before making choices, because that wasn't happening. People were not fully informed, and we're seeing the fallout. So
after Elon, you got it back?
Yes.
That's good.
Yeah, almost immediately. It was crazy.
Wow. Huh.
So, but also I got kicked off of Vimeo too, and they kept the money. So they said I violated terms of service.
Off of where? Where'd you say?
Vimeo. So I was monetized there, and
Okay.
They decided to keep all the money as well. So I was like, okay. And yeah, I've gotten dinged on, I'm shadow banned everywhere and gotten dinged on YouTube. So yeah, like,
Yeah.
We were talking before the show about that you had gotten off YouTube. How's that been for you?
no, Facebook, right?
Excuse me, Facebook. Sorry, I was looking at something.
Oh yeah, I quit caring. I mean, like Facebook ended up being a thing where like anything that I would post, whether it was to my like page or my personal page, I mean, I was getting like 2 people seeing it. So I just quit caring. I mean, there's still a like page there. I just don't ever post to it because it's a waste of time. So I totally removed and quit using. I mean, I got Facebook off of all of like my phone, my computer. I don't ever use it. I don't use Facebook. I quit using Facebook Messenger like 4 years ago. And so I've done fine without anything Facebook. I mean, it wasn't doing me any good anyway. So I'm like, basically, I'm just letting Zuckerberg spy on me all the time, and I'm not getting anything out. If he's going to be invading my privacy, I want something out of it. But I'm not even getting anything out of it, so I just quit using it. It hasn't hurt me at all. In fact, I've probably done better off without using it.
Yeah,
we set up a Discord actually around the time I quit using Facebook. My Discord grew really big. It's pretty active. Technically it's not mine, but I started it. I don't really police it much anymore. I'm still in there, but it grew to a pretty strong community of 12,000 people. So it's pretty active. And that ended up being a lot more useful for me and that audience than anything on Facebook. So I put all my time and attention that I would have done on Facebook into Discord, and that ended up being something that I was actually productive.
Yeah, worthwhile.
Versus the time and effort on Facebook, which was a complete waste of time and wasn't getting me any traction.
What is your favorite platform at this moment?
Well, I'm very happy to be remonetized on YouTube. They even sent me my $100,000 or 100,000 subscriber plaque, which I didn't think I was going to get that. So
They do that?
I don't really care about it, huh?
They do that?
Well, that's what I'm saying. Like, so they demonetized me before I hit 100,000. And then if you get demonetized, they don't send you your silver play button plaque or whatever. I mean, again, I don't really care about that. It's just funny to me that. So when I got remonetized last week, I was like, so wait a minute, do I get my plaque for hitting 100,000 subscribers or not? So they were like, let me go on and check with my bosses. I will have to check for you. And they did. Like, we have decided that you do get your silver play button for 100,000. So.
It's principle. It's principle at this point.
Yep.
So I mean, Rockfin has been a really great free speech based platform. I really love those guys. They've been huge supporters of ours. So I appreciate them. I'm very happy that Elon took over Twitter because I've been finally able to grow naturally without suppression. So we're almost at 100,000 followers on Twitter, which never would have happened under Jack Dorsey. I think under Jack Dorsey, I was always stuck at like 10,000, 12,000. So now it's grown immensely. Since Elon, I've gone from like 10 or 20,000 to 100 under Elon. So to me, that's normal, natural growth. Favorite platform? I mean, I guess I'm happy to just be back getting a bigger audience on YouTube again and getting paid for it rather than relying on. I mean, I was still using YouTube every day almost, but it was all channeled over to the website to make money, right? So, but now I can be making money directly from YouTube again. So.
Yeah, and you're smart about YouTube. You add something every day. I'm trying to learn from your process and your habits.
Yeah, if you can, live streaming is a lot of fun. It works out well for me. My audience, they love the live stream debates. I actually get tired of it, but people love it. It gets a lot of views. And when I was demonetized, there was no incentive to actually make like edited, like sharp, good quality 10, 12-minute videos, because I used to do those a lot. And then when I get demonetized, there's absolutely no incentive to make those because you're basically spending 2 to 3 days making a video and it makes no money. So the only way to make money was to do live streams and get super chats from Streamlabs, which was great. It worked fine. That worked fine for the last 5 years. But now I can go back to, if I want to, I can make a really good 10-minute video and put time into it, edit it and all that. But I mean, I'm out of practice. I haven't been making edited videos in 5 years because I'm so used to live streaming like almost every day that, that was the bread and butter. So
Yeah.
One last
are you
question.
are you monetized?
No.
What?
Well,
You are.
yes
Why
and
not?
no. I'm on YouTube.
Yes.
Yes, I am. But
Oh,
there's
okay.
the payout is so small.
Oh, you get okay.
Yeah, it's so small.
You don't do super chats or whatever?
I don't do them. I need to, I guess.
You should enable all that. Yeah, well, yeah, you should have that enabled.
Like, I guess I need to pick your
If you're
brain.
monetized, you are able to turn on super chats.
Okay, I think there's some things that I'm not using or I don't have enabled or turned on that I need to.
You go into earn and then click super chats and turn them on.
Super chat.
You can also create channel memberships too if you're if you have members that want to subscribe to members only content.
Yeah, I just got a notification saying I was eligible for that.
There you go. Yeah, my wife did too. She just turned that on.
Okay. Your wife does the same thing you do?
Yes. Yeah. She does conspiracy topics. She's written a couple conspiracy books.
That's awesome.
Yeah, we actually met on a podcast. So.
Oh, that's awesome.
The world of podcasting dominates everything now.
So yeah, you never run out of things to talk about. And last question, Tampa Bay Screams Horror Convention asked, does Jay consider horror fans and creatives a positive force in the proverbial struggle of good versus evil or globalism versus the people? I agree with Jay that we are living in a B movie.
Yeah, shout out to Andrew. I mean, I thought it was a great question at the event. I mean, I think that horror is a unique domain of literature and art because it forces us to focus on the things that we might not want to look at. And I think when we confront the horror that's in film or that's in literature, that makes us realize, okay, there's an element to which this is real. And so I would say overall, in general, yes, horror is a positive thing. Nowadays, it's like the last genre of films is not totally woke. They are trying to wokeify horror, though. Like the last few years, you're starting to see woke horror movies, which suck. But up until the last couple of years, horror was like the last domain of filmmaking that was not totally woke. And I think also it kind of promotes the idea that there's virtue and vice. And when you open up to vice in most horror films or narratives, that's when evil takes over. I mean, that seems to be a pretty common horror trope. I mean, so much so that Jamie Kennedy in Scream or Cabin in the Woods actually jokes about it, right? So I think that's all, those are all true. Those messages ring true. And horror is really ultimately grounded in a religious worldview. I mean, if you go back to the Middle Ages or if you read Southern Gothic literature like William Faulkner or Flannery O'Connor, I mean, there's elements of horror in those stories. So absolutely.
Awesome. Really, really nice. Great. You are an excellent interview. I knew you were an excellent interviewer.
Thank you.
You are an excellent interview. You are a wealth of knowledge. Thank you for being here.
Absolutely. It was a great conversation. It was a pleasure to meet you guys.
Thank you. So everybody look him up, Jay Dyer. Or
if you want signed copies of the books, you can go to my website, and in the shop you can get Esoteric Hollywood 1 and 2 in the shop. Yes. And look for Esoteric Hollywood 3 coming out in the next couple months.
Highly recommend it as a fascinating read. So did you say something, Eva?
Nope, I just said sweet. Thanks.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. I thought I heard the birds tweeting too, so I wasn't sure.
There's dogs barking outside. I don't know what's going on here today.
Yeah.
Sorry.
She's a bird person.
All right, thank you. Appreciate it. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah, thank you. Have a good night, and thank you for being with us.
Sure,
Eva, stay for a second. Thanks, Jay.
Okay.
Wow, that was pretty awesome. I learned
I
learned a lot of things. And hi to everybody we didn't get to directly say hello to. Thank you for being here with us. I didn't want to cut in, but thank you for being here. Thank you for being a part of this show. I wanted to kind of pick Jay's mind as much as we could while we had him here. He's in demand, and it's I would imagine I just grabbed that hour with him. So so thank you all for being here with us. We didn't really hear your birth that much.
Well, I was trying to mute as much as possible because I didn't want to. Anyway, yes.
Yeah, we didn't get to drink. Like,
yes, I'm sorry.
Yeah, we didn't get to drink.
A couple times I was bringing my glass up. I didn't know if anybody's hearing anything, but
yeah, oh, thank you, cool, awesome dude. Well, it's what I'll make up for the ones that we promised here. Thank you for the bits. Go. Thank you for the bits you've sent before. We appreciate you. Thank you.
I know there's so much to look up, Winona. Yes, you throw out a lot of things.
I made this for you. This is for your birds. On the back, it's going to say drink.
Thanks. I appreciate it.
It says, hear me roar.
Yeah. That's a pretty good. Like. Yeah, that is.
So, yeah. And Steve, good night to you. I see Allie. I see Cool Awesome Dude, Winona. I saw Allison. War Demon. What's up? King Vibe. Who else is here? Alan, what's up? Wade, of course. Michael Doherty. Hey to you. He was with us at Tampa Bay Screams. And of course, there's Andy from Tampa Bay Screams. Who else did I miss? Oh, Sportsmaster. Hi. And Jay and Marvelous Wolf. Hello. And Gregory. Hi. Yeah. Gregory had a really great comment. He said, read about the cloud seeding in World War II. The hurricane headed out to the Atlantic, not doing much damage. They said it was a success. Then it turned and came back and wrecked the place where it landed. There's a lot of stuff.
I'd like to look into more about that too.
And we got.
I never thought about World War II on that. I'm sorry.
I didn't either. I thought it started. I thought all that stuff started in Vietnam. I didn't realize it went back so far. We got smallpox champion going. What Hameen Dyer crossover is crazy. I know, right? And Ivy, what's up? Speedway. Brian, hello. Alex, did I miss? Red Sunny, hi. So I'm sorry if I miss anybody, but and Raphael,
hello to you.
Hi. So I know some of you are there, but you don't get into the chat. So hi to everybody lurking, you lurkers out there. And Andy, Tampa Bay Screams says, thanks to April, Eva, and Jay for the great answers, insights. Thank you for helping us get this done tonight. We really appreciate it. So,
and Andy, I hope you come back on. I mean, maybe we talk to you on the show one day.
That would be super cool. Yeah, that would be definitely cool.
Yeah.
So that's pretty much. I was going to ask him what his favorite cookie is, but it sounds like he didn't eat cookies. So he has a better diet than I do. So he's inspired me to clean up my diet and figure out my YouTube.
But he doesn't have a 6-pack. You do.
Well, it's probably just a matter of time, right?
Show everybody your 6-pack. Make them feel good. There you go.
There. It's kind of there.
Kind of.
I'm wearing long pants. I'm wearing comfortable pants. And there's Lori, the biz. What's up, girl? What's up, pretty lady? So thank you for being here with us. That was super, 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 super interesting because Jay's one of those people that combines like literally all the things I'm interested in. So this was one of those interviews that I personally was excited about. So, and guess who we have?
I'm going to steal it.
I know.
Right, go ahead.
Yeah, guess who we have coming back on next week? We have Jimmy G coming back out. He's coming back.
Oh my God.
Just in time we're going to talk about some self-love. And he's going to give us, he's always, he's one of the more popular guests coming on.
Self-love?
I know, right? Jimmy, he'll go there. So we're actually going to pre-tape with Jimmy because he can't get in when we can get in. So we're going to pre-tape and next week won't be live, but we will be on at the same exact time and we might pop in to say hi live. So that's what's going to happen. So if you're asking questions during the show to Jimmy, that probably won't happen. But if you want to submit them to us ahead of time on X, on Twitter, I would love to, we'll use them. Okay. So Jimmy G will be on. And let's see. Am I forgetting anything?
I brought that up with Winona because Yes, there is a lot of guests coming up over the next month, 2 months. So hang on to your
Yeah, we have a lot of people booked. A lot of people booked. So
yeah.
I just, you know what it was when Ray left, I wasn't comfortable running the show. I wasn't comfortable. I felt like I wasn't doing it right and it just wasn't running smoothly. And I didn't want to bring anybody on with me have an amateur hour. So
Not an
so yeah,
amateur, and I think you're doing a great job.
we're trying.
Huh.
So yes, we're trying to get some female guests on. We do have a very pretty lady who wrote a very interesting, where is that book?
Yes. Well,
It's not right here, but we have another author coming on. And she'll be coming on. We're going to have Denise Duff, horror actress. She is coming the end of February, early March. Also another very beautiful lady. So we do have some interesting people lined up.
she's got that skincare line too.
Yes. Yeah, you can tell. She looks amazing.
Yes.
So, Laura says Girl Scout cookies are on sale now. Oh my God, that reminds me of a story, you guys. So this father took his daughter to, it wasn't like a Grateful Dead concert, but he took his daughter to some kind of 420 related concert or convention, and he had her set up right outside. And do you know she sold like $5,000 worth of Girl Scout
Holy
cookies?
shit.
Like she broke
Holy
all
shit.
the records. So yeah,
Well-
if your kid is selling Girl Scout cookies, look around to see what events are in your area and have them set up right outside, maybe.
Oh, yeah.
Because munchies are a real
Sandy,
thing.
too.
Munchies are a thing.
Munchies are a big thing.
Yep.
Why do you think they started doing food trucks over at bars? I mean, those food trucks have got to make out.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Yep. Know your
There you go.
market. That's right.
Exactly.
Know your market. So, and also, I saw something before we go. I saw they did something with a doomsday clock, right?
Yes, I sent that to you.
Who cares?
What? I think
Like,
it's
who
funny.
It is.
I think it was funny
It
because
is, it's hilarious. Like, who actually pays attention to this
apparently
it's
somebody did and read that
fear
fucking article.
mongering? It's so
Yeah.
crazy.
Sell some at the pot shops. Ah, that's
You're smart.
fantastic.
Yeah, so smart. Oh, we just both did that at the same time.
Sorry.
Yeah, I just thought that was funny. They pushed the doomsday clock ahead. Oh my God. Stop
Yeah,
with the fear mongering. Just live your life. Be happy. Don't worry. Be happy. Okay? Stop. So,
Be happy.
yeah. I'm going to leave you guys with a bit of advice, okay? Because
Uh-oh.
I wrote this earlier this week, and this is something that I think is important, and I'm going to lose Ty's podcast if I go and do this, but oh well. I love Ty. I love his podcasts. Breaking Your Chains, very good podcast out that just came out called Stop Arguing or Stop Your Arguing. It's so good. If you want something good to listen to, it's a little bit long, but you can listen to it in chunks. So breakingyourchains.com. And we've had Ty Whitman on before, so you guys might be familiar with his really good stories, his good research. So let me see if I can find this. Okay. Stop being so angry about politics. Here's why. Number one, boxers can't fight angry. They lose. So anger and fear actually clouds your judgment. It clouds the area of your brain where you can have good judgment. Thinking is very hard. That's why most people judge. And those who are in control know this and use it against us. So number two, stress is linked to literally every single disease and disorder out there. In a for-profit medical and pharma situation like America, where media, government, big tech, FDA are all linked, you'll end up sick and they win. You lose. So stop being stressed. Number three, your body does not know the difference between real fight, flight, freeze, or fake news generated versions. It releases the same amount of cortisol, the same adrenaline, the same hormones that make you collect belly fat and get sick. So, number four, your mind controls your body. It's your choice. Everything is. Fear is the opposite of love. Fear is contagious, and it's used as a weapon to create hate, divide, and keep us separated. It's used to manipulate all of us. So you can choose not to live in fear and anger, and this is a huge step towards living healthier and avoiding long-term illnesses. So this is another reason why you should stop being angry about politics and people and how they voted. It's all weaponized. Stop. And do not unfriend people because they don't think exactly like you. Please, 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 please. This is ridiculous, and it's bad advice. And stop spreading hate, because hate spreads so easily. It literally is a vibe. It has an energy to itself that does spread. So real people, real friends, people you've known for a long time who may have been through something which makes them see situations differently than you. They may have voted differently than you. They're still your friends. They're still your family. If your car breaks down, if you mentally break down, they're going to be there for you if you call them. Your politician of choice is not coming for you. They don't know your name. They don't give a shit about you. If you think Trump is coming for you, if you think Kamala or Biden is coming for you, they're not. So it's not worth it to alienate your friends or your family members over an election.
Right.
Just don't do it.
Or anything else, actually.
Yeah, it's not. Relationships are all we have. They're literally all we have. We are supposed to have experiences and love people and have relationships. So don't fall prey to manipulation and divide, because that's all it is. There's a reason we have the delusion of only 2 political parties. There's so many we could have out there, but they keep them all from running. They wouldn't even let us have a third party, because it's very, very important to them to make us choose and divide. Don't fall for it. You might hate Trump and think he's the Antichrist because they're telling you that's what you're supposed to think. You might hate Kamala and think she's a communist fucking DEI choice. That's what they're telling you to believe. So just stop and understand that people are more valuable than who they voted for, and they matter. Okay, these are real human beings. So, and don't fall into it. Don't be hateful. Don't be mean. Just be kind. That's all I'm saying. We're going to leave on that, unless Eva's got more to say, but just be kind. Kindness is a really big fucking deal. So, Eva, you got anything?
Don't put it down. Don't put it down.
Put it away.
Put it away.
That's right. And Alan said, regarding because he's in the medical business, they make more money treating illnesses rather than preventing it. Exactly. So thank you.
Don't give them your money.
Yes. Don't let them win. Stress is related to everything. Don't stress. It's not worth it. Don't let them win. So the most successful way to live and the most successful revenge is living well.
Yes.
So there you go.
All right. That's a good note to end on.
Have successful revenge and live well. So thank you for being here. We love you. Mwah. Thank you. Thank you for being smarter now and obviously sexier after watching this show. Yeah. And we will see you next Tuesday where Jimmy G will be on. And we are excited about that and love ya. Mwah. Bye, guys.